I'm standing here at the northeast corner of Israel. Behind me is Mount Hermon. The highest peak on Mount Hermon is actually in Syria. And so we're here at the border between Israel, Syria, and Lebanon. An amazing, important place. And so much is going on in the news today in this location. As a matter of fact, we were here last year, and with the Syrian conflict going on behind us, we actually heard and saw some of the shells that were being fired. We saw the smoke. We could actually hear it off in the distance. We were that close. But there's so much going on in the news. You see it, you hear it, and it's important to really put these things in context. What's going on behind me in Syria is you have Iran moving into the region. They're setting up military areas, and Israel says, you know what, we're not going to have this on our border. We can't have it. It's too risky, too dangerous. We can't let Iran create a beachhead behind us with their military apparatus in Syria. And so Israel has been going in and knocking out these Iranian positions in Syria. And also over this direction, northern Lebanon, or northern border with Israel, southern Lebanon, the Bekaa Valley area, you have Hezbollah, which also is an Iranian proxy, where Iran has been pouring money and supplies and weaponry. And over the last 10 or 12 years, Hezbollah has been building up their arsenal. And at some point, probably in the near future, unfortunately, there's going to be a conflict again between Hezbollah and southern Lebanon and Israel. And so this is a real hot point, a flashpoint in the Middle East. And as believers, we need to be aware of these things, what's going on, and we need to be praying for the peace of Israel and for all of these people in this region. But Iran is the nation to watch in this area, because Iran is wielding a lot of influence in Syria and in Lebanon, and they have threatened, they want to wipe Israel off the face of the map. And Israel is taking every precaution and does not want to get involved in the Syrian conflict or in Lebanon, but they are forced to, because they will not have Iran setting up military bases on their northern border. It's too risky. So keep an eye on this region, and hopefully we'll be bringing you further reports in the days ahead.
I just wanted to, again, take you to a Flashpoint, a GeoProphecy update, just to share a couple things that are going on just briefly in the Middle East and just took place in the last few days. So I'm going to pull up a map for you, and I want to direct your attention specifically to the area of the Golan Heights, which is a mountain range on the northeastern side of the Sea of Galilee. You can see it says Lake Tiberias here, but that's the Sea of Galilee. So the Golan Heights mountain range, for many years, that was in the hands of the Syrians. And in 1967, Israel captured the Golan Heights. It's the high ground overlooking the Sea of Galilee. So it's a very strategic area. And in between, you can see there's a United Nations force between the Golan Heights, where Israel is, and Syria over onto the east. And so there's a strip of land, United Nations forces there, supposedly to keep the peace. But what I want to draw your attention to this morning is that Israel has a deep and growing concern about what is going on in Syria. And now this has been going on for some time now because of the Syrian war. You have a very weakened Syrian government, Bashar al-Assad, and into his country have come other nations that in certain areas and in certain locations have a dominant role. So you have the Russians in Syria, you have the Turks in portions of northern Syria, you have the United States in portions, although we're talking about pulling out, but there'll still be some kind of a presence in Syria as well. Of course, you have the Syrian government, which has survived all of these things, and many thought that that would never happen, that the government would fall. And of course, you have the Iranians in Syria. And that's what I want to focus on just for a couple minutes this morning. The Iranians have moved in to Syria in a significant way with military assets, and they continue to do so. And Israel has said, and has made it very clear, that we cannot tolerate the Iranians, who have threatened to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. It seems almost every week there's something new that they're coming out, some kind of bombastic statement against Israel. They've made it very clear that they would like to wipe Israel off the map. They called Israel a cancer, and some really horrible things that they've said about the Jewish people and about the land of Israel. So Iran has been moving in through Iraq and into Syria, and they're setting up assets. They continue to build up their military capabilities. Now keep in mind that Iran also has a lot of significant sway in what's going on in Lebanon. So Iran really has the most say, you can say, from an outside source in the capital cities of Beirut in Lebanon and in Damascus, Syria. And also you could say in Baghdad, Iraq. So Iran is strengthening and is moving to the west. They would like to build a land bridge, if you will, from their nation, Iran, through Iraq, into Syria, and to Lebanon, and to the Mediterranean Sea. They want a land bridge for economics and, of course, military purposes. They would benefit tremendously if they have this land bridge connecting the old Persian Empire of Iran to the Mediterranean Sea. Now, they're setting up assets in Syria, and they've started to move those assets further south towards northern Israel. And that's a major threat to Israel and to their security. And Israel has said, we just can't let them come in arbitrarily and set up huge military outposts with all kinds of assets right on our border. So Israel has said, we have got to go in proactively, and we've got to target those assets, those military assets, in Syria. And so they've been doing this for now some time. Well, just this past week, Israel went in and did some bombing targeted hits in the area of Damascus International Airport. And of course the Syrians and the Iranians and the Russians are very unhappy about that, with what Israel did. And Israel said, look, we cannot allow Damascus International Airport to become a haven for Iranian military assets. And Damascus says, no, we just want to reopen the Damascus International Airport for commercial purposes. Now, they want to do that. Of course, it will help them economically, but there are other reasons. And you have to understand that from the terrorist mindset, if they can set up assets in areas with large populations, they keep Israel from being free to target those assets, because Israel is very concerned about casualties, collateral damage. So they know, and all the way back to the time of Yasser Arafat and the Palestine Liberation Organization, the PLO, they would set their headquarters in the middle of a skyscraper in Beirut, Lebanon, knowing that Israel can't target them because it would be collateral damage in the building apart from the headquarters of the PLO. So this is the thinking. So Israel targeted some areas around the Damascus International Airport, and Syria has now said, if you do it again, well, let me, before I tell you what they've threatened, they sent up a missile. So when Israel targeted that area, they sent up a surface-to-air missile. There were actually Israeli skiers, if you can believe, this is the kind of crazy world we live in these very small areas. There were Israeli skiers up at Mount Hermon, which is the very northern end, is a snow-capped mountain at the very northern end of the Golan Heights. And this mountain, we've been there, we take our groups to see. This mountain, part of it is in Syria, the northern portion of it is in Syria. The southern portion of it is in Israel. And it's the high ground, it's a very high mountain. There are a lot of military strategic signals and things that they get information from on the top of the mountain. But there's also a ski resort there on the Israeli side. And there were skiers up there, and they were filming themselves skiing, and all of a sudden, in the film footage of the phone, with their phone, they see a surface-to-air missile going up. The Israel Defense Forces, using their Iron Dome system, which is like our Patriot system, fired and knocked it out of the sky. But it was this surface-to-air missile was intended to come into Israel randomly and to hit somewhere in the Golan Heights in the Israeli communities. Since that point, Syria has come out and said, we don't think that was enough of a punishment for what you're doing, Israel. So we are threatening that if you do this again, and if you target areas around Damascus International Airport to hit our Iranian assets, we will target Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv, in Israel, which is right here between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. So that is the most recent dialogue that has gone back and forth in the last couple days. I just wanted you to be aware of what's coming. The Bible tells us that in the last days, that Damascus is going to be utterly destroyed. But I caution you not to jump to conclusions when you're reading some of those passages about the burden of Damascus in the Old Testament. I would submit to you that that discussion and that prophecy is connected to an end-time scenario connected to the destruction of other nations in the region as well, and it's most likely a day of the Lord passage. Okay, so that would mean that it's not something that will happen probably in isolation, but it may happen in connection with the destruction of other nations around Israel too, in the context of the day of the Lord. However, what you're seeing is a ramping up and a movement of nations, and we must continue to watch so that we can understand better the time in which we are living. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a brief GeoProphecy report, a flashpoint update on what's taking place in recent days in Israel and in Syria. So keep watching that.
Go deeper in your understanding of God, His people, and His plan for planet Earth. Zion's Fire magazine is an exceptional resource with powerful insights from Scripture that provide a clear understanding of God's ultimate plan for the last days and the return of Jesus Christ. As a first-time subscriber, you'll receive a free 1-year subscription to Zion's Fire magazine with no strings attached. Request your free subscription by visiting our website or by calling our toll-free number, and we'll send you 6 free issues, one every other month, for a full year. We depend on the generosity of viewers like you to support the ongoing production of these programs. Your donation, whether large or small, is greatly appreciated. Donations may be given online at www.zionshope.org or by calling us toll-free at 1-888-781-9466. Stay informed and see the latest from Zion's Hope by liking us on Facebook, subscribing to our YouTube channel, and following us on Twitter.